You're listening to Fakeologist Radio, where we talk about the biggest hoax of our time, 9/11, and all the psyops and hoaxes before and after September 11th, 2001. You can call us at 518-564-0491 or Skype contact Fakeologist. We stream 24/7 at stream.fakeologist.com. Our archives are at radio.fakeologist.com. The show normally broadcasts at 9:11 p.m. Eastern Time, but we may live broadcast any evening time as guests become available. Now, here's your host, Aberrato. Hey everybody, it's episode 136. This episode is with Mark Sargent of Flat Earth Clues. You'll see below a playlist of all 9+1 guide of the Flat Earth Clues series. I decided to take Mark up on his offer and dial the phone number that he left at the end of each of his videos. I didn't expect anyone to answer the phone. I thought maybe NSA, PsyOps, the military of some description would answer the phone, or it would go to a voicemail, or I'd get an answering machine, actually. But actually, Mark picked up the phone, and much to my surprise, he answered and was ready to chat. I didn't think it would last this long, but Mark is a very interesting and a very convincing person, and I had just finished watching the entire series, and I was pretty much blown away by it. It gave me similar feelings to the feelings I had when I watched September Clues, no relation. And apparently Mark has never even seen September Clues. And when I had that sensation, I thought, wow, wouldn't this be fantastic if I could just talk to the author right away while it's still fresh on my mind? And I had a few questions. I didn't get them all in because I forgot some of them, but Mark sounded pretty good, and he promised to come back and maybe take some of your calls and questions. But my initial impression was this is the best Flat Earth movie that I have seen. Put all of the anomalies and questions together in a really convincing way. And I'm not on board necessarily with every component of it, but boy, it sure makes me think. I think really, really hard. Again, I don't know what we're spinning on or floating on or just squatting on, but this was a pretty good set of arguments put in a very clear way. Obviously, Mark said he's done video presentations before in a slide format, and he did a really great job syncing the audio to the imagery. I did listen to all the audio tracks separately, just so I could maybe concentrate a little more. If you listen to audio while you're driving, your brain works and processes differently. It's less likely to be distracted. I encourage everyone to try that. For the week of March 8th or so, I'm going to play my interview that you're going to be listening to in a minute with Mark on s1.fakeologist.com. And I'm also going to stitch all his audios together into one long audio. I don't know what the total minute count would be, but I would guess about an hour to 90 minutes. So anyone who wants to listen and stream the audio in one shot can do so. In this case, you don't really need the imagery that goes with the video to understand or get his ideas into your brain. It helps, but it's not necessary. He's very well spoken, and he read quite clearly. I think he scripted it, and it's very clear what he's talking about. And I've listened to the whole thing twice, and I'm going to listen to it again. I really am. There's so many great concepts, and their 9 chapters are clearly delineated. And he came up with some great points, considerations that I had never thought of. I didn't even ask him about the moon and the stars and the sun, but For me, it's really way out that there's a dome. I just don't buy it in any way. But I have no way of arguing against it right now. And I'm not sure I'm going to spend any time thinking about it much more. But just his arguments are really great and very clear. And certainly, if there was a leader in presentations for the flat Earth, then this series right now, as of March 2015, is it. So I hope you enjoy this broadcast that I had with Mark. It went live, and this was one show that was unannounced because I wasn't even sure Mark would be at the other end of the phone. So it's just another reason to, in the afternoons on the weekend, just stay tuned to chat.fakeologist.com. That's the only place I said, hey, I got someone on the phone, you better listen live, and we went live. So that would have been your opportunity to listen. I didn't send out an email alert this time because I just wasn't sure how this conversation was going to go. Anyway, don't forget we have audiochat.fakeologist.com. We have the regular chat.fakeologist.com. We have forums.fakeologist.com. We have many, many links on the right side of the website, fakeologist.com. There's lots of ways to participate. I'm always looking for new voices. Let this be your call out. If you're a new voice, and I've heard from a few new voices this week, please contact me at contact.fakeologist.com and hit me up on Skype at fakeologist.com. There's so many ways to connect, except Facebook, except Twitter. Those are places I do not really spend any effort or time into because they're not my domain. They're someone else's, and I'm not going to give them my efforts. But there are many ways to contact me, so please go ahead and contact me, and I'd like to talk to any and everyone about all these different psychological operation hoaxes and what many would consider far-out concepts. But maybe these far-out concepts are slowly coming in to the general consensus psyche of the population. Enjoy the interview with Mark.
Well, it's...
So do you? And you'll have to forgive me because I haven't really been on YouTube that much. Do you go after and try to stomp out these things on a regular basis, or are you?
Well, let me just. Do you mind if I record this call?
No, not at all. Go ahead.
Because I value your time, and I don't know if I'll be able to speak to you on a regular basis, but I just finished watching this, and it blew me away. Cool. Yeah. I have a website called Fakeologist.com.
Okay.
And I study this kind of stuff, and Flat Earth was definitely on my list because I question everything now that I'm so convinced that I've been fooled in so many areas of life. So
sure.
This is easy for me to absorb. I don't have a problem with any of it really at this point.
Fantastic.
So I really.
Go ahead.
As soon as I started watching it, because I've watched quite a few Flat Earth videos and they're pretty rough and pretty raw and pretty not convincing. Just because if they're the average amateur is not going to have much to say. Because
and even if they do, the chances of them having any structure is pretty slim.
Yeah, so when I see something like yours so spit and polished, I do get kind of concerned that I'm just watching another military production since they control most of the planet, because it is so good.
So you're wondering if I'm a professional shill in this case?
You know what? I'm attacked by shills daily.
Yeah.
I have a website called Fakeologist.com. All it really is just a fan site. I like different stuff, and I'm trying to create a picture for myself of the world, and I just am putting it out there for people to agree or disagree, and I get lots of people that agree, but I get way more people that disagree and really try and knock me off and disrupt me. I have people I know for sure that are assigned to me and knock me around and just try and disrupt me.
You should take that as a compliment.
Well, that's what everyone tells me to do, but it takes a lot of my time. But
Yeah.
I have so many people that I like that I've met on my website that are so cool and they just seem real. And if they're fake or they're shills or trolls, they're so good that I'm okay with it because they're really nice to me.
Well, that's good. That's good.
I'm sure there's good trolls and bad trolls, but yeah, I was looking for something like your video that puts it all together because I could never even put 5 minutes like you did together and make any sense. But man, did you ever blow it away with the plane travel stuff and the GPS? Those are all the things that I was thinking, God, if someone could just make this coherent.
I lucked out on the GPS thing.
Beautiful.
Thank you.
It's a work of art.
I am flattered and blushing at the same time.
No, that's amazing.
What I did was initially, I started out like most people. I was just going to stomp on this thing and smush it into the ground because it was literally the last conspiracy I ever looked at. I went through every one of them, twice, 3 times, 10 times over. And this is one of those folders that I just would not pick up and look at because it's ridiculous. It's silly. It's something that's burned into our brains as the most ludicrous thing you've ever heard.
Hey, do you mind if we go live on the internet, or do you want to?
No, go ahead. Oh, what, you want to go live now?
Yeah, why not? Because
sure,
I didn't schedule this, but I thought, well, if I can hit him, I can just press a button and we're live. Boom, we're live.
No, that's fine. That's fine. In fact, I've got a radio interview in 2 days anyway, so I'm ready for it.
We could do practice.
Yeah, they called me up, but I'll get to that in a second. So, I was looking at, this was the folder that I would not look at. I refused to look at it. It was this kind of dates it, but it like the last movie in Blockbuster. You've seen everything else, and there's something sitting on the shelf titled something awful, and it's like, oh, I don't want to do it, but I'll do it. So once I started digging into it, I thought I'd blow it out in a weekend and be done with it. But after a couple days, I'm starting to look at stuff, and I'm going, man, some of this stuff is starting to sink in, and I'm basically finding too many loose ends not to pursue them. And then I get on. There was a guy, a German guy, as a matter of fact, who was on YouTube. He posted a video in German about the flight paths, and he was saying that, look, there's something wrong in the southern hemisphere. You can't get certain flights. The routes are screwed up.
Yeah.
And even though he was describing everything in German and the text was in German, the travel sites were in English. And I'm looking, I'm going, yeah, that does seem a little odd. So I started putting stuff together, and so I did a general guide. And like you saw some of the flat Earth people that are out there, and the conspiracy guys tend to go on jags and tears and really they tend to get scattered. So I said, you know what? I'm gonna cut and chop it up into digestible sections, and if I can make it. Basically, what I tried to do was I tried to build it myself. So it's like, okay, I'm going to try to build my own. If I was going to build the flat Earth, this is how I'm going to build it. And if I get to any point where I say that it's just not jiving, it's not going to work, I'm just going to throw the whole thing out and not do anything. And as I was going through it more and more, I was realizing that the structure was working. And the further I went along, the more I couldn't find any flaws. As a matter of fact, I just found more and more design issues that were really quite clever.
Yeah.
And then I was going, okay, so if this is, and I did not want it to be true, like anybody, it's like, it's the last thing you want.
Well, I didn't care. I don't care if it's true anymore. I was never at that point, but go ahead.
So I was, I didn't want it to be true because it was like, because it would have been, for me, it would have been like, really, I waited this long to finally look at this thing, and now I was kicking myself because it's like, oh, I should have looked at this a long time ago. It's just one of those hidden gems. And so then I said, okay, if the design works, and if the design is very, very possible, I made the leap from, the argument is usually went like, is it possible versus non-possible? And, then you get into the whole science and gravity and, all the back and forth. So I just took the lead and said, okay, it's definitely possible. Then when the heck did anybody find out about this? Because it's not something, it's not one of those secrets, like any other conspiracy, which would just be buried so deep because we live here. So it's only something that can be kept secret so long. So then I had to work through the timeline. I'm going, okay, everything looks good. Everything, 1900, 1930, 1940. Everything looks good. And then about 1956, 1957, things get really weird. A lot of different, I call them the authority, you can call it government or rich people or kings and queens, whatever you want to call them. But the more I started looking at the moves that were being made, starting in 1957 and then ending really around the time of NASA, some really decisive moves were made, which I was looking at, I was going, yeah, that's exactly the moves you're going to make. If and everything that I was looking at, everything from, the high altitude nuclear tests to the complete shutting off of Antarctica and then putting that so far under the covers that nobody even talks about it, to, just the space program in general. Little things that were, but the thing that, of course, what you mentioned was the flight routes. That's the part that I kind of stuck on, because if there's three rules to the flat Earth model, one being that no exterior space shot can have a pan. There can be no panning shots. The second is you can't have any authentic pictures of the Earth, which again, I saw this 15 years ago. A little side story. Mm-hmm. 15 years. This shows you how well done it was. It was like I was looking like remember the movie Ocean's 11, the con. When you watch a really good movie about a good con.
Oh, I love those movies. Yeah.
Yeah, where you don't see it till the very end, and all of a sudden it's like, oh yeah, this is how he did it. Boom, 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 boom. That's what I was looking at. So 15 years ago, I was looking for. I had a whole bunch of monitors in a new office. I was going, I'm going to put a nice high-res picture of the Earth on every one of these monitors. And so I go online and I take a quick look at, look for images. And there's only one image. And I'm not exaggerating here. There was literally that 1968, 1969 shot where they're showing, the bottom part of Africa and all of Antarctica. And it was just rows and rows and rows and rows and rows of the same picture. And I'm looking at them, and again, the mind has to make a leap. I'm looking, why is there only one picture of the Earth? It's 2000. It's the year 2000. Why is there only one picture of the Earth? It doesn't make any sense. But I was so irritated. I just flipped off the screen. I said, "Screw you, NASA," and then went and just picked a different, a whole different direction. But that's how we work. So anyway, the third rule is, which is the one, that anybody can prove anytime they want, just go online, which you probably did. And that is, there's no shortcuts on a flat Earth. So if the Earth is more flat than round, then there's going to be some plane routes that are going to be screwed up. Mm-hmm, they're going to be wrong, and they're going to have to be hidden, because you can't fake the plane routes. The only thing you can do is kind of do a sleight of hand thing to disguise them.
You've explained that better than anyone else, because there is one video that was pretty good from someone else where he's got the plane spinning around. He's going on that if the plane goes west, then it should get there faster, that kind of thing. I like that.
Yeah, and I'm trying. Yeah, and I got those too. But for most people out there, they don't want to hear math. They don't want to hear physics and crap like that. What I try to do is I try to be as visual and as structured as possible. So yeah, but I understand what you mean. But I won't get into it. Planes east versus west. How are they both covering the same distance, the same amount of time? Or another one, which you probably heard, was if you've got centrifugal force around, if the equator, if you're standing on the equator and it's spinning, at 1,000 miles an hour, and you're standing on the North Pole and you're spinning at 0 miles an hour, then technically there should be a weight difference between the North Pole and the equator. And fine, so maybe it's not 20, 30 pounds, but it would be measurable.
And why isn't anyone doing that experiment? Exactly.
Yeah, why isn't doing that experiment? But I went a completely different way, which was, okay, and anyone can check this out. You can, if you try to book a flight from anywhere in like South America, South America, to anywhere near Australia. That includes New Zealand. The flight should just go straight over the South Pacific Ocean. It's 7,400 miles. It's a straight shot. You can measure it yourself. It's easy on a globe. But every time you tried to book it, it would bounce you all over the place. You know, it'd be these weird routes, and 95% of the plane flights are nonstop. And so what happened was, after I did videos Clue 7, which was called The Long Haul, I started getting emails from people. They're saying, yeah, we're finding some stuff between like Auckland, New Zealand, and Santiago, Chile. You know, there's a few little nonstops. I mean, very few, just a handful, but they're out there. And so, in fact, the radio show that wanted to talk to me next week, they said the same thing. They said, you might want to get ready for this. So I said, okay. So I just stared at the screen for an entire week on planefinder.net and tried to figure out how they were doing it, because it just didn't make any sense. Mm-hmm. So I'm staring at the screen, and I'm dense sometimes, and I'm staring at it, I'm going, okay, where are the nonstops? And then it occurred to me, it's like, wait a minute, where are the connections? Where's anything? There's nothing red in the oceans below the equator. And I'm going, okay, where are they? You know, because I can see them on the land. That's obvious. You can see them at the airports, but at some point, you don't see them anymore. So I watch a silly flight coming out of Brazil, and it's heading towards Johannesburg.
Right. So it should be going over the South Atlantic, right?
South Atlantic, which has nothing to do with the flat model. You know, it shouldn't. That doesn't even factor into the flat math most of the time, because it's slight. And so I'm staring at it, and I'm going, oh, it's so boring. It's like watching paint dry. Yeah. So I go and get something to drink, and I come back, and the plane's gone. I was going, it doesn't make any sense. So sure enough, it's just not there anymore. So I start watching this. At that point, I just start watching every plane that's leaving South America heading for Africa. And when they got offshore, certain point, they just blinked out. And as I'm doing that, because there was a couple of the guys I was kind of corresponding with, and a guy sent something to me. He goes, check out the flight logs on this. I was looking, and so not only did they blink out on the real-time radar, but they also the logs were being erased on the actual log. It changed from whatever location it was to either the word approximate or the word estimated. And this was over and over, I mean, completely consistent. And so to this point, I'm just going, wow, it's bulletproof. Yeah, and I figured out exactly what they were doing, which was what I would expect. It's the lowest maintenance of the whole thing. So if anyone's listening here, here's what's happening. If you're flying anywhere in the southern hemisphere,
I'm looking at the map now.
Yeah, if you're flying anywhere in the southern hemisphere, your flight, once it gets to a certain point in the ocean, is vanished, just disappears. And
it's off the radar.
Yeah, it goes off the radar, and the reason is, it goes off GPS, which is amazing. Yeah. And it stays off until you're almost on your destination, and then maybe an hour before you get to your destination, it'll reappear.
It's off visible GPS. It's still probably being tracked, but the computer probably just has a filter that blocks it from public viewing, right? The military must know where it is.
The military probably knows where it is, but the military is not going to talk about it.
Right.
And the reason why they're doing it, and again, it's tough to get your head around, is because the route they're taking is not the route you're supposed to take.
Right.
On a globe, the shortest route is over the Pacific Ocean. But if it's not a globe, the Pacific Ocean becomes 3,000 miles longer or something. I mean, it's much, much longer, and it's basically the long way around, and nobody wants to do that. So what they do is, to make sure the lesser of two evils, is just fly over the land, preferably at night, and then not show you where you are. So that you don't question. And most people, I mean, there's several layers that work in their favor. One is, on long flights, people are just sleeping in their seats anyway, or drinking, or both, and they don't care. Or if they look out the window, they don't make the connection. And even if they were looking out the window and
you wouldn't know it. Yeah, you wouldn't. Who are you going to call?
Yeah, what would you think? That the best part of this is the indoctrination, and that is, if you're looking down and you see land, what's the first thing you're going to think? It's like, I have no idea where we are. You might scratch your head, but you're not going to make the leap. In fact, even a plane navigator, they've got other motivations.
Are you kidding? When I fly to Florida and I've watched my flight on the little screen in front of me, I can't figure out where I am exactly. I'm almost near the ground. I'm looking for landmarks, and I can't figure out where I am, which direction I'm going. You get fairly disoriented.
Yeah, but yeah, and so not only do you get disoriented, though, there's such a huge gap that you have to overcome, because the first thing, you're going to think, okay, I don't know where I am. I'm confused. You're never going to say the map's wrong. You're never, ever going to say that, because, and this is the Reader's Digest version of my indoctrination thing. This is the only conspiracy which we debunk to children. That's it. You put a globe in a first grade classroom.
Yeah.
The kid, and then you leave. The kid stays there for 12 years. You don't even have to tell them about it. You just leave it there. You don't have to, do any worksheets or anything like that. And then, when they get out of high school, boom, that's it. It's over. But it's just amazing to see, because everything that I have seen the authority do to try to hide this is what I would do to hide it. I mean, they're all very, very good. Like killing the GPS in the southern hemisphere. You'd think it's overkill, but it's one of those out of sight, out of mind things. So, like, for example, the South Atlantic flights, which I mentioned, you don't have to kill the South Atlantic flights. You could leave those. It wouldn't screw up anything, except that you don't want people looking at it.
Well, how long is that flight? Because I'm looking at the map. It looks like if you went from, say, the eastern part of Brazil to Africa, just looking on the Google Maps, it looks like the same distance, say, from one side of the United States to the other. Yeah,
3,000 miles. Give or take.
How do they go? So they have to fly north over the North Pole, pretty much, right?
No. For that flight, it doesn't have to be that exaggerated, but they have to kill them. They have to make those flights vanish, because they have to make all the flights vanish. It's an all or nothing deal. If you let those planes, the red planes, show up on the flight tracker, people are going to start staring at the other oceans, going, "Oh, hey, what about the other flights?"
Okay, so they really do probably. Well, that is an equivalent distance even on a flat Earth. Is that what you're saying?
It's closer.
It's close enough. Closer. Okay.
The angle might be off, but no one's going to question it. As a matter of fact, the angles on the northern hemisphere is screwed up too, and people have been bugging me to cover that, but it's not nearly as exaggerated as the South.
So it's the South Pacific Ocean crossing that's problematic.
Yeah, if you're heading straight from like Los Angeles or San Francisco to, say, China, right? Mm-hmm. You would go, straight across the ocean, right? Go past Hawaii, and that'd be a whole thing. But all the flights, they go north. They head towards. They hug the curve of Alaska.
But they say that's the Great Circle, though, of the curved Earth.
Well, that's what they say. But if you look on the flat map, it's a straight shot.
Right.
On the flat map, that's what you're going to go. And so, there's so many little angles that they throw at you.
Yeah, the great circles. They say planes always travel in the great circle to conform to the sphere of the globe. Yeah, that's always the explanation for that.
Even the pilots, and there's even, I've had a few people discuss with me, it's like, well, is it possible that GPS, that's the whole reason it was built? I go, yeah, it's extremely possible, because GPS is it's the Bible of the skies. It's what everyone uses. In fact, the planes are synced up to it. You put it on autopilot, the GPS runs the plane.
Yeah, they said the pilots the physical pilot's actually the backup. The plane is all autopilot. He's just the backup in case the computer fails. Everything is automated now.
Yeah. Yeah, so if you even have a clever guy that is like specializes in, I don't even know if they have dedicated navigators anymore, like they used to back in the day. But if you had a clever guy, here's a perfect example for it, because people would say, well, the pilots absolutely would be in us. No, they wouldn't, because again, there's that weird leap you have to make. So even if a navigator's going, well, the fuel consumption isn't working out, and I have no idea what we're flying over, but it certainly isn't the route.
Well, it comes down to, who's he going to tell?
Yeah, who are you going to tell?
And he's in a pretty high paid position. Some might say pilots are overpaid. Maybe there's a reason for it, because of course everyone seems to want to fly and be a pilot. So why are they so highly paid? Why are so many ex-military?
There you go.
Well, there's always plausible deniability reasoning for everything. And we go into that, but the bottom line is that maybe this is a lot about information control more than anything.
Yeah,
and
I totally agree.
And I've been saying my website's of course been dedicated to exposing the 9/11 hoax, and I don't know where you stand on that. But after I decided, I decided that it was a military media hoax from start to finish, including victims. I don't know if you're familiar with that concept. And I just said, I'm going to the biggies now. I went to nuclear, and I'm pretty damn convinced that is a huge hoax as well, which may help you with your...
Yeah, I wasn't, I had heard of that as well, but I couldn't really, with something like this, I didn't want to stretch it too thin because, remember, I'm trying to get...
No, I know what you mean. You can't cross... Even I get accused, you can't necessarily publicly cross the line into everything as a hoax, because then you're very easily dismissed. I get that.
Yeah, and if you go down the road where every little topic that I'm talking about is a hoax, I mean, people bug me about the...
You will be dismissed instantly. I've been dismissed many times where it's so easy to say, well, you just think everything's a hoax. You don't even think you're talking to me right now. And then we get really crazy. Like, you don't think you're even here. I mean, it gets stupid, but it's a very slippery slope, and I get it. And I respect people, and I almost encourage people that do they stick to compartmentalizing some of the research. So if you're the 9/11 as a deception expert, it's almost better for you just to stay there, because if you start going on about exploring the explanation for the solar system, then you can get tarred with, you're kooky. Yeah, exactly. But there's nothing wrong with you being open to questioning it, because we are so predisposed to questioning some of the biggest media events of our day, then it is only sensible and logical, as the ex-Mr. Spock, or the late Mr. Spock, used to say, to re-examine everything we're told. And that is the point I'm at. I'm enjoying going back in history, and the Earth, the shape of the Earth, what's going on, what's Antarctica, it's all part of it. And the way you broke down the explorer with the bird exploring Antarctica, and the timeline, and how it all matches up with the next wave of deception to literally pick up where he left off. And I go as far as questioning, well, who was Bird? Well, anytime someone's in the military, to me, they are in on it. However, so I'm not convinced that
think
Bird...
He was in on it too, but I don't think he was in on it in the beginning, because remember, he was running point. Like, what I tried to cover, and I didn't mean to cut you off there.
No, I'm happy. Go ahead.
Was that, these people say, well, there was people that probably knew for centuries and centuries. I was like, I have no doubt, like, the Masons knew, but I'm not going to get into that. Or the
higher levels. The people with all the money, they got the knowledge.
But even if they had the knowledge, that's what makes this one different. And again, I wanted it to be a joke. I wanted it to be a gag. But as I was digging into it, I realized that even the leaders, like say you were the king of France in 1700,
right?
And someone brought you an old scroll that showed you, what the world really looked like. What good would it do you? You've got no resources or technology to even check it out. And I'm sure that was passed on for generations and generations, probably the last 500 years, where they were saying, but until you could actually, it's one thing, like anything, until you see it face to face, until somebody comes back like your point guy Bird, in 1954 when he did that interview, which you saw, it was obvious to me he was absolutely in the clear at that point, because he was like, oh yeah, we're going to carve this thing up like a Christmas ham.
Yeah, nobody really. You don't think they got to him, or he wasn't being properly managed at that point? He should have never been able to open his mouth.
No. I think he was probably managed.
Okay.
But I don't think at that point he had run into it, because remember there was still an expedition, one left, which he was prepping for, which was Operation Deep Freeze from 1955 to 1956, was really the crux of this whole thing, because it's physically the last public expedition that's ever been down there. I think in 54, they were managing him. But he didn't even see it, because remember, he was going to be the guy. They were sending him to find it. And so in whatever it was, 55, 56, he finds it. And then, he excuse me, then he has to report back, and then the whole thing falls apart after that. But the leaders that were even ordering him, even they didn't know for sure, because again, you don't know, because you never had anybody, even him, let's say he was absolutely, being controlled, and and in fact maybe he was kept out of the loop, where the higher ups, they knew what he might find, but they weren't going to tell him. And so when he found out, that's when everything changed.
Well, he was the first to really go down there and report back. So they wanted him to have something real to say.
That's what I was thinking too.
Yeah, maybe there was some suspicion. There was some kind of documentation from some Captain Cook or someone before.
Forever. Yeah. But you still needed, like anything, you're not going to go out yourself.
No.
You're going to send whoever the best is, and he was definitely the guy. And it's like, and again, he was super excited. You could tell in that television interview that he did, how excited he was. It was like, there's coal and oil and uranium and minerals. It's like he stated, he's like, obviously there's going to be expeditions every year.
Yeah.
And that was it. that for me, that was what sunk, that was my point of no return, because the attitude was, you had all these nations down there, Russia and Great Britain and the United States, and all the others, saying, we are going in, we're going to make a ton of money. And then the next day it was like, we are out of here.
And that was publicly what was it. But God knows what happened after that. And then they started throwing in the quackery, the crazy, which derails anyone seriously looking into it. The moon bases, the Nazis, their favorite whipping boy.
Yeah.
And that spins it into crazy land and makes you look stupid for looking into it.
It did, which is why, I just glossed over it. It was like, fine, Operation High Jump, which we know at least that part was real.
Yeah.
When they went down there with a big military force, but no one really knows what they went down there for. So, and you could say, well, it was Nazis, and, people came back to me and says, well, it was obviously,
there's only two people down there, Nazis and penguins, and they're probably Nazi penguins.
Yeah, but
I mean, let's be facetious about it, because that's all we're told to this day, right? We got penguins and Nazis and UFO bases.
But my argument was, it's like, fine. So Operation High Jump happened. Whatever happened, they handled it, because Byrd returned, did television interviews, and you could tell, in his 1954 interview that everything was fine. It was like, again, whatever problem they had in 1946 when Operation High Jump happened, that was ancient history. It was done. But again, once they locked down, I'll give you a coincidence. They because they always like to release a little glimmer of truth. They said they discovered, what they called the Van Allen radiation belts in 1959,
which to me is a hoax.
Yeah, and coincidentally, that was the same year they locked down Antarctica. So
a lot went down.
The what?
A lot went down. It's almost like they were establishing their mythology for the future in those short years. They were so creative during that period when World War II ended to the Kennedy era. They were busy. They had some of the best science fiction writers creating our science future, and it hasn't changed really.
Yeah,
I think it's mythology.
I agree with you.
100-year mythology, good for 100 years.
For this was kind of a special case. Most conspiracies, again, they're small enough you can contain them, you can bury them, you can put them in vaults and stick them in Groom Lake or whatever. But this was one of those things where it was so big. I think even they thought, I'll ask you, would you agree that there would have to be some contingency for if eventually this started to leak out?
I think these things are done by the military. They have the best and the brightest. They run the psychological. I think the most heavily funded part of the military is the psychological operations wing of the Army. These are the smartest people. They hire all the best screenwriters and screenplayers and authors. They create our culture, and I think every single day where's the hoax at today? Let's evaluate. Okay, where's it going? Okay, this is the buzz on the internet. Here's where Twitter's trending. Here's YouTube trending. Or if we want to go back 30 years, let's get the letters to the editor. Okay, well, we know this is what the letter writers are saying. It looks like we're going to have to create some false letter writers and editorial writers to start to shape the herd, because the military formulates majority opinion. That is one of their number one tasks. They have to create the majority opinion. So even when you and I, our neighbor, our boss, when we're all fermenting an opposing majority view, they're going to say, no, this is the majority view. You're in the minority. So you're looking a little crazy right now. And so are you and you and you. And so, no, this is the majority. And they'll publish it. They'll promote it. They'll say, this is what everyone's thinking right now.
Yeah.
And they will steer dissent their way. So I think that all these things are managed on a daily basis. So when I'm interviewing you now, we're being watched. I mean, we could be watched a million ways. They've got more tools than ever now. I'm not a paranoid person, except within reason. But the point is, now they're taking this interview and they're going to see, well, the Fakeologist just met up with Mark, who just released a fantastic video series that, wow, this is getting good. Now we have some pretty interesting stuff that might be getting close to the truth. So we're going to see some counter COINTELPRO, some anti-propaganda. And
I was worried about that.
I don't think it's anything to be physically worried about. I hope not, because I really do hope that the people that create our culture and run our psyops, I'm pretty convinced they operate within the law. I don't think they kill people. I'm hoping.
Sure. You try to do the carrot and the stick at the same time, if you can do it. I mean, and they have the budget, for God's sakes.
Well, they have all the money.
Yeah.
They print the money.
But when I was a little leery, I got to tell you, when before I released before I released Clue 9 about the planes, because it was like, now I've got a problem, because now I'm actually showing something that looks so deliberate, bordering on overly blatant, and so now it's, but I will say this, and I was a little leery when I saw your name show up on caller ID, and that was
Fakeologist.
well, yeah, because you immediately think a debunker, which I was just saying. Well, I have yet to get one. Now, in truth, yes, I turned off the comments section of the videos because it just gets so ugly in there that it's like, no, I'm not going to mediate this stuff. Look, I got better things to do. You guys want to mirror it and mediate it on other sites, which have happened. That's fine.
Yeah, I was going to actually mirror your whole thing too, because it's fantastic.
Oh, thank you. But
there's no doubt.
I haven't had a single debunker email. Phone calls, that's one thing. You got to be pretty brave, to call.
Yeah, I can't believe you put your phone number up, and that's how I reached you, by the way. I would never do that.
That was a risk, but it was mostly because I've seen people get labeled as, and I think it's overly done, labeled as shills so quickly, I know. And that it's like, you know what? I'm gonna put out my email address. Here's my phone number. This is where I live. This is my backstory. You can check it all out. You can, because now, everything's on the internet. You Google me. You can follow me all the way back to frickin' grade school.
Wow, you got balls. You got more balls than me. Sorry.
It's not balls. What are they going to do? I mean, the shills aren't going to come, to my house. The trolls aren't going to come to my house. In fact, the trolls will just stay away.
True.
as far as the government, look, they're going to find me anyway.
I know, but it's just the general harassment. It's the exposure. I don't know.
Yeah,
Now we can profile you, and you're that guy, and I don't. Will it affect your employment and all that crap?
But from a debunker standpoint, look, I started out trying to debunk this. So if you think, and then I ended up being a convert, which is weird because it's the convert of the smallest club in the world. Of all the conspiracies I wanted to join up on, because I didn't post any, I haven't posted anything on anything, not Apollo, not 9/11, not Pearl Harbor, not really much of anything. So,
well, that's good because now you're known as the flat Earth guy.
Yeah, exactly. So now apparently I've become the flat Earth authority overnight.
And I thought that Matt guy, and you put him in your video, the Matt NASA comedy guy.
Matt Boylan, yeah.
I was pretty sure he was controlled opposition. He was acting very irrationally in his videos, which indicated he was just trying to attach crazy. I thought he was attaching crazy to the thought.
I initially was suspect too, but I actually spoke with him, and
did you?
He called me. Yeah,
did you? Because I reached out to him and he ignored me, which I guess is easy to do, but still.
I think he's trying to build, and rightly so. He was looking for some sort of catalyst in this movement because he's never really backed away from it. The problem with him is. I love the interview that his girlfriend did on him. It took like 20-something minutes, and where he broke everything down, and it was really stone cold.
Did I miss that?
Look up if you're looking on screen. Look up YouTube. It's on YouTube. NASA Insider. He'll be like the third one down, fourth one down. He's sitting on a couch.
Okay,
and it's a repost from a guy named Eric Dubay, who's also into the flat Earth movement.
Yeah, Eric Dubay.
Watch that from beginning to end because that's really his gemstone.
Okay, because Eric Dubay was doing okay stuff, but it wasn't enough to move me. Whereas yours just blew me out of the water.
Thank you. I looked at Eric's. I looked at Matt's. I looked at Caligula, wherever that guy was. My perspective is a good one, although you've got to know some physics to get around that one. And Cesar, he's got some good stuff. But looking at Matt's straight up video where, not the arty stuff, because remember, he's an artist by trade. He is an eccentric, passionate guy.
But he says he's part of NASA, and there's no such thing as ex-military in my mind. Once you're in, you're in. Nobody gets out.
But he was a contractor. He was an artist contractor.
But aren't there non-disclosures and everything to sign?
But he didn't name names.
Okay.
I don't want to. We could go on about that one, but check out if you haven't listened to it, check out the one where he's sitting on the couch. It's brilliant.
Yeah, I see it. I got it queued up here.
You're obviously attracting a lot of attention these days with your NASA.
That must be
channel.
recent.
Yeah, NASA took out NASA.
Well, no, it's a recent repost, but that interview that he did was years ago.
Oh, okay.
And he tried to do it on film because he was worried because. Basically, the story. Do you know anything about that? His backstory on that one.
No, I always thought he was controlled opposition. He's just spinning crazy to this whole idea.
His original interview, in my opinion, is just brilliant, and it gets a lot of hits, on a lot of mirrors.
This is where he's walking around and on the earth.
Oh yeah, again, he's a performance artist.
Okay,
and he's a stand-up comedian, and
but he's
in 2 different languages. Plus, he's French.
Okay, he's not funny though, but okay, he's a comedian. All right.
Anyway, he's actually a pretty good guy, but total passion. But the thing is, I think he wasn't really a conspiracy guy. He was just a painter.
Okay.
And the backstory on him is that he was a contract painter, out of Montreal, for NASA, did some stuff, and then was invited out to like a social gathering out in the Hamptons. There was a power outage and everyone's talking. It's late, and there's some high-ranking NASA guys there.
Jesus.
And the Reader's Digest version of this is they were joking about GPS,
right?
How the GPS wouldn't work, at a certain point in Antarctica, right? And then one of the tech guys says, oh yeah, you should send a team of guys out there to confirm that. And then another guy chimes in and says, well, if they go out that far, they're not coming back. And, Matt, of course, because he's clueless at the time, he goes, why wouldn't they come back? He goes, "It's too cold." He goes, "Well, because GPS doesn't work out there." And why doesn't it work out there? And then, the dreaded, deadpan moment where the guy goes, "Well, because it's flat." And then, and it's this gag, right? But it really, what it looked like was the, are you in or are you out? Type of conversations. And so this guy, under candlelight, because, it was a power outage, draws this big circular map and draws out all the continents and, defines all this different stuff. And I don't know how old he was probably in his early 20s because he just graduated from college.
Yeah. He wasn't ready for that.
No, he wasn't. And if you're not a conspiracy guy and someone drops this on you,
it's like,
and
whoa.
You're an art,
whoa,
what do you do? You're, you're pretty open-minded because you're a painter anyway and an artist, but that shakes you. I mean, really shakes you. So you either go one way or the other.
Yeah.
Either, okay, you're in, but if you're not in, you're totally going to go the other way.
Yeah.
So eventually, contacts dropped off. And then this is all in the interview. You can watch it. But basically what he was saying was, after this guy, when he drew it, because he knows how things are drawn, he basically drew the UN flag on the concrete.
Right.
And he goes, they never backed off of that. He goes, they never came back. It wasn't like, nudging and winking and saying, "Oh yeah, we're just, messing with you." They never ever came back. He goes, it was never a globe again. And so at that point, he started, analyzing everything that was ever, printed, and started looking at Earth shots and stuff like that. But it's a great interview. I highly recommend it.
Well, I'm gonna watch it. I got it queued up. It'll be on my next audio that I'm listening to. And I thought he was a goof, but you telling me that it's not a goof?
No, he's not. He's not a goof. Unfortunately, he's a fault against himself in this case, because he's got that one interview which his girlfriend did, which is, again, I consider it just brilliant. But he's got so many other videos where he's doing, he's just going off on just tears, and it's tough. It's tough to listen to sometimes because, again, he's passionate. But that's the grounding one. You'll understand when you see it. It's that's where he gets, that's the fan base right there, from this sector is just particularly that one video. He's got some others, or I think he's been drinking a little bit, but yeah. Anyway, that's my take.
One of your best videos that I was sort of gasping at air, I think, was Shell Beach, which is
you like
Flat Earth Clues 4. I think, is that the one where you describe the cage that were the mice in a cage? It starts off with mice in a cage.
Yeah.
That is so good because that has the psychological aspect to it. It's so good. That was just
you.
That one hit me really hard.
I didn't want to, and each of them seems to hit people a little differently, but that one I had fun with because I didn't want to open with the obvious Truman Show reference because it's too easy.
Yeah, I love that movie.
I tried to step people into it. So I said, okay, look, you gotta put yourself in, a situation. It's like, okay, here's what happens with nature, here's what happens with people, and then, and that one then blended into Status Quo, which was really talking about, because people are saying, well, why would they hide it? And it's like, well, they'd hide it for, some really big reasons.
But at the end, is that where you discuss the problem of humans figuring out that there's the wall, and then, you brought in the whole unity, which of religions, which comes in with the big...
The religious unity problem, which, science...
That's prophesized. The religious people prophesize that, and they go on about all that.
And I'm not knocking it. I tried to stay as neutral as I could because
I know you're not knocking it, but that's you're tying in a lot of strings that I see out there in the community, the conspiracy community. I think because they think that the Pope is going to be made the head of the entire world religion in Jerusalem when they reconstruct the Temple of Solomon, which is where there's a mosque right now in Jerusalem, and they're doing it now. They're buying the land. The Vatican owns Jerusalem. I mean, it is almost going to a script, according to a script.
It's strange because that's not even what when I was writing it, I didn't have that in my mind at all. It was strictly from a reactionary point of view. You know what I mean? It's like, look, I said, every religion is looking for the artifact.
Yeah.
You know, they're looking for proof. Everyone wants it, and they have for hundreds of years. It's like, look, everyone wants to see the Holy Grail and the,
and this wall, and you call the wall really.
Yeah, if the wall shows up, if the wall is discovered or disclosed or whatever,
or shown to be true,
everybody will jump on this and they will say design. It was built. It was built. It was built. And religion will take a huge jump. They will. They would become. Instantly overnight. It would be a fundamental shift in
because people will need an explanation. They're not going to get it from Obama. No,
and again, which is why. And I wasn't kidding. Some people said, "Well, you're kind of doing a parody at the end." It's like, no, I'm not, because you're going to go to science and ask them about the wall, and they're not going to have a clue. They're not going to be able to. Well, they may make up something. But they won't even care, because religion is going to come back and say, I'll use Christianity, just for the heck of it. And they'll say, the firmament, it's in Genesis, it was there, that's what we believed for 4,000 years, and science made us lock it away in a drawer.
But do you think there may be 10% of scientists that know all this stuff, but they're too afraid to say anything because it goes against their groupthink?
No, I wouldn't say 10%, because remember, you know anything with military, it's need to know.
Yeah, compartmentalized.
I would even go so far. Someone asked me, does Neil deGrasse Tyson know?
But there's got to be some smart people. Like my uncle's really smart, and I don't talk about any of this stuff with him. He's really smart. He must know some of this stuff, but he would never talk about it because he's probably afraid, or he doesn't think I'm smart enough to receive it. He must know some of this stuff.
But it's not just intelligence. Intelligence is one thing. You've got to have a leap of faith, because like you and me, I mean, even when I was looking at it, even when I was researching it, and the stuff was in front of me, I'm going, this is stupid. There's no way this can be true, right?
Yeah.
And, for a scientist, with so much doctrine, so many books they've digested over the years, it goes against everything we've been led to believe on all fronts. And so, some scientists may question it. Yeah, there might be some, but like you just said, they'd be so scared to say anything about it.
Yeah, and I like how you said there was one or two people that would get it, understand, but what do you do with 1,000? They need something better than just the explanation. That's so right, and I think I experience that every day when I try and say, listen, 9/11 wasn't just an inside job, it was a completely managed event. You have no idea the scope and depth that the military goes to control your reality. And the 1,000 people are never, ever going to believe it. And that is who the people that create our reality are pitching to. They don't care about us because we're too few and we'll never catch on, and they know it. They know it. They're always preaching to the, whatever you call it, the heathen masses, the great unwashed.
Mouth-breathing troglodytes?
Yeah, the mouth-breathing troglodytes. And I breathe it. I breathe it out of my mouth at night because my nose plugs up. But I'm not,
Well, I'm hoping, and of course, if the wall was, remember, because in my opinion, you can't keep something like this under wraps forever, and they know that. So the question is, what do you do?
You have to manage it.
Do you try to manage it? Do you try to create a giant distraction that takes away from it? Be it a world conflict or a disease, or, whatever you want. It's one of two choices. You either let it happen, you let this thing happen, and let the shift happen, which I would think they wouldn't do.
The Great Reset, I've heard. The Great Reset. Someone was talking about that on some forum just recently.
I
said, what are you talking about, Great Reset?
For me, it's like, part of these videos were not just for me, or not just for us. It's for let's be honest, it's for the builders themselves. It's like, look, you guys are waiting for something. I don't know what it is, because in my opinion, civilization has jumped the shark. And
you called it the what did you call it? You called it the authority, as if it's instead of the authorities or the ruling classes or whatever you want to call them, the Council of 300, the 13 ruling families. You just call it the authority.
I call it the authority because it is in my, because it's a quick way of saying, because full well, it's not just rich people, not just the highly elite or highly,
it's not just the Masons, the Jews, the Jesuits, the Council, the CFR, the Nutwork. We've called it the Nutwork, but I like the authority, but that almost gives them too much credit.
Well, I mean, technically, it may be their self-imposed title. I don't necessarily say that it's the ultimate. For me, it's the authority, whereas the other, the others are the builders or the creators, depending on which tack you want to take there.
Yeah.
But for me, it's like, the authority there's only so many moves they can make. And if I was them, I would think I would I would stage some sort of event so that even if they knew that, the dome was, or whatever, the enclosed world was going to be discovered or breached or whatever it was, they would either take credit for it, and try to spin it a certain way, or they would create something so distracting on the other side that people would be too busy to care.
Do you realize that even when you use the word them, when I speak to people and I say they, I always get, who's they? There's nobody. There's no they. There's no them. Why do you keep saying that? I can't get anywhere. I can't even get the first sentence out. He says, why are you saying them? Who are they? Who is them? Point to them. Where do they live? Where's their head office?
It's funny because it's they think of it as an ultimate them, but if you even where we are, if you raise up, like I was president of my HOA for years, and the HOA was referred to as them. Because the
What's
HOA
an HOA?
was,
High school?
Oh, no. Homeowners Association.
Oh, okay.
So and we were the ones that made up the rules and stuff for a particular condo association.
Okay, I get it.
But people hated that because we were considered, it was like, why are they making the rules? Blah blah blah. That's
Meanwhile, you always get in by acclamation because nobody else wants to run, right?
No, nobody wants to run. It's not a paid position.
It's of course not.
Anyway, you're absolutely right, though. The stigma of they and them is it's such an overreaction on people's part because they don't buy it. But it's like well, of course they are. They started out like just some of them started out just like us. Mm-hmm. So don't say there isn't them because you one day may be them. So don't.
Right. I haven't been called yet, by the way. I am waiting for the phone call.
What phone? Oh, the
phone call to switch over.
Switch over
from criticizing them to joining them because I'm.
Oh, that's right. That's right. Because initially I thought you were actually one of them already.
No. Hey, listen. I don't know if I think I'm doing my services are free to them, and I'm helping them realize how their message is filtering down. So I'm far more useful over here than being paid on their side to convince the open mouth troglodytes what to do. So nice. I'm pretty sure that that's a good reason why we're not really in danger because I think we're the 1% of the 1% of the 1% that can get the message. We're getting the signal. We're getting the bat signal down here. We do the Rubik's cubes. We're the ones that figure it out, and they just want to know if a million of us are going to figure it out or not. And I'm pretty sure.
And I think there's even a contingency for that because you know the term predictive programming probably more than anybody. But there was stuff I'd noticed over the last 10, 15 years, which it's like, well, you got to kind of warm them up to the idea anyway. So Dark City, that was kind of iffy. Truman Show, everybody knows that.
I got to watch Dark City. Yeah,
Dark City is a wonderful movie.
I got to watch that. That's
the television series The Dome, the Simpsons movie where the city was under a dome, the movie that was just out just recently, The Signal, which just came out on video. Watch that out. The ending is a city. It's kind of a spoiler, but the city was actually inside a flying dome.
Okay, that's The Signal. Okay,
that's The Signal. Check that out.
Okay.
There's certain things that for me, it's got to be tough for them. And I use them again.
Yeah.
Them because this is a topic that it's hard to reach. Did you, by the way, if you get a chance, look up on YouTube if you missed it. The fact that I think it was just last year that Obama in that press conference on the White House lawn said we don't have time for meetings with the Flat Earth Society.
I've seen that clip. I was going, what? That's not an off-the-cuff remark. That's built into the speech. A long time prior. It's like, why would you mention that? Why would you even talk about it? Yeah, it's like
broadly, we've got to move beyond partisan politics on this issue.
Bingo.
I want to be clear. I am willing to work with anybody. Republicans, Democrats, Independents, Libertarians, Greens, anybody to combat this threat on behalf of our kids. I'm open to all sorts of new ideas, maybe better ideas, to make sure that we deal with climate change in a way that promotes jobs and growth.
Yeah, I just thought Flat Earth Society was
I don't have much patience for anyone who denies that this challenge is real. Oh. We don't have time for a meeting of the Flat Earth Society.
There you go.
Now, and that's interesting because before, what was it, like 40 seconds before, he says, we're willing to meet with anybody. And then he follows it up, except meeting with the Flat Earth Society. It's like, all right. Is it possible that they can, whatever algorithms they're running?
Did that come up in a meeting with him, perhaps? And maybe
it's like, hey, we're getting some trace traction on a topic. So here we want to throw this in there.
Yeah, we need the actor-in-chief to start creating negative propaganda. So that way, anyone who because for a lot of people, they don't even know. It's not like the flat Earth thing. It's not that for some people it doesn't mean a bad thing. It means nothing because they don't even know the term. Anyone under 60 wouldn't know that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
sure.
There's an entire generation that has no idea about the Flat Earth. Maybe the Flat Earth Society is kind of making a teeny weeny comeback because of the internet, but otherwise, no. Or because of I've thrown it out that I don't know what the hell we're standing on or sitting on or spinning on, and why are all the numbers that NASA gives for the Earth, why are they all Masonic? Why are we going 11,000 kilometers or miles an hour? Why isn't it some other? And how do they get these even numbers? I mean, it just, to me, the whole thing is BS.
Yep.
It's all a kooky story with all their occult numbers, just slapping us in the face every single day. Starting off for me with 9/11. After 9/11, I make that the focus of my blog only because everyone on the planet knows about it. They know something about it, so they can relate to it. I just use it as a springboard, and it goes, the fakery, the hoaxery, the control goes right down to the dumbest, stupidest stories in my hometown, Toronto, where they say some guy dug a hole, and I know they're just testing the believability, or the gullibility rather, of the public into believing some of the dumbest, stupidest, occult-laden numerology, gematria stories. I mean, it's crazy, but people are just so dumb overall.
They are. But with a little hope, and maybe we can change that. Hopefully.
Well, yeah, your video. I mean, let me ask you one thing. How did you get the title? Where'd you get the clues part of it? Because I'll tell you why I want to know. Why did you call it Flat Earth Clues?
I just rolled with it. The initial, the first one was the Guide to the Flat Earth, and that was more. That could have been a subliminal thing, Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, I suppose. But it was literally what I was trying to do. It was like, because there's all sorts of stuff. Guide to, the pyramids, guide to this. So that was that. But then the clues, the titles of all the clues just came as I was writing them. It was weird. I would wake up in the night and I'd say, okay, tomorrow I'm going to, because I rolled them out really one day after. I did the first. I did the guide and the first 8 clues, one day after another. I'd wake up in the morning, I'm going, okay, here's how we're going to do it. And we're going to, write the script, do the audio, do the slides, put it all together, shoot it out. And as I was writing the script, by the time I was usually about halfway through it, I came up with, whatever the clue name was.
Well, I'll tell you why. Because the movie, the website that blew the doors off 9/11 was the very famous September Clues movie. I don't know if you've heard about it.
I have not heard about it, nor I have seen it. But
well, that's pretty good synergy there, where we've got an artist on the other side of the planet in Rome, Simon Shack, who created September Clues, and the foremost forum for this kind of chatter, including, well, maybe not so much Flat Earth, is cluesforum.info. So when I saw Flat Earth Clues, I thought, is this guy paying homage to September Clues in any way?
No,
is it a coinky dink?
Yeah. I would say no, not at all. In fact, I was a loose change guy. I followed the loose change series.
Well, that's where you're supposed to go first. It's laid out.
Yeah, and that's all I really knew, for a while there. And so that's really it didn't take much convincing for me with the whole 9/11 thing. But no, I didn't even know. So the guy's not even an American, and he did this?
That's right. He's a Swedish or Norwegian-born, living in Rome,
Italy.
He speaks 5 languages. He speaks English quite well. I've done many interviews with him. Most of the people that I respect in most of the hoax fake research are on cluesforum.info, which includes Americans, Irish. Irish seem to be pretty up on this, I think mainly because they've been beaten down by the British for so long. I think oppressed people are more willing to try and seek answers because they pretty much want to get out from underneath whatever's oppressing them.
Trust doesn't come easy for them.
Yeah, trust doesn't come easy, so they're more skeptical. I mean, but it's out. There's supposed to be allegedly 333, which is another whole story about occultism and gematria. 330 million Americans. Why did it take an Italian to figure this out? That doesn't even speak English. I mean,
good point. And the loose change stuff almost didn't come out. Boeing threatened to sue the loose change guys on their first edition.
I think I don't have much doubt at this point that that's all controlled opposition. I mean, after all, Vladimir Lenin said the only way to control the opposition is to lead it. I think that there's no doubt that it's part of all major military media psyop hoaxes is they manage the opposition. So that was a controlled leak, just like when they release water from a dam, they don't just blow the dam up and let it flow out. It's released carefully to relieve any kind of tension, pressure, growing opposition. So forgive me, but that is why I'm skeptical about just about anything that comes out in any fashion. And when people question me, I can't say, listen, I told you to question everyone, so how can I exclude myself? It's kind of ridiculous in a way, and people do take me up on that and question me all the time. So, but I'm okay with that. And I think the more talking I do and radio interviews, people can tell that it's pretty hard to fake what I'm doing, I think. It's pretty hard to be disingenuous all the time.
Agreed.
Right. But anyway, I thought that was some pretty amazing synergy. Yes, if you haven't watched it, definitely watch September Clues.
So it's just so I know, it's September 11th Clues?
It's just called September Clues. It's on my website, Fakeologist.com. You can link. There's a link to the top, but you'll find it quite easily on YouTube. It's not quite as polished as yours, and there's no narration. So because there's no narration, there's mostly just text and arrows and freeze frames that are trying to make you think about what you're looking at. It's very powerful that way. It almost needs an explanation. And that's why I discussed the video with the creator, Simon Shack. And that's why I also needed to go to the Clues forum and read, okay, what exactly is being said here? What is the thesis in case I'm interpreting it incorrectly? Whereas yours is very clear. Your arguments are very clear. They're very persuasive. And
I have to admit, though, I did have sort of an unfair advantage there because I used to do classroom training for proprietary software when I was doing stuff for time and attendance.
I was going to ask. So you must have had all the software slide presentation, syncing of the audio
actually,
to the
that stuff. I mean, I kind of pasted that together, but the whole concept of because for years I would train people on basically the basic, taking complex stuff and breaking it down to where they could really understand it, to where it would really drive home, and it didn't take very long. They wouldn't have these gaps where they'd fall asleep. And so when I was doing this, for whatever reason, it just came very, very naturally. And, I was surprised. Again, the worst conspiracy of all time. And, here I am now, not only believing it, but preaching it. So.
No, it's, let me just ask you a couple more questions. I made a lot of notes,
sure.
but I didn't think I was going to talk to you tonight. But a lot of the notes I just wrote as we were talking. So we've got 9 video clues plus 1 introductory digest or guide at the beginning.
Yep.
So does that mean there'll be more clues, maybe even 11 clues to
as I get inspired? Yeah. The next videos probably won't be clues. They'll probably be just a radio thing, because I'm gonna record the radio thing and break it up into chunks.
Okay. But you're doing an audio version, you mean? Or
no. Well, yeah. There's All Talk Radio is tracked me down, because this stuff's only been up. You got to remember, it's 3 weeks as of today.
Yeah.
And it's even been up.
Yeah.
So after the first week, I had this radio show call me, and they were the ones that kind of prompted me kind of motivated me to finish up number 9.
Oh, okay.
But for me, it's like, and I knew I was doing some good stuff, because I hit everyone with so many things, so many different angles, that when they're coming back, I'm not even really getting that many suggestions for the next clues. Of course, everyone asks, about little things here and there, but for me, it's like it's got to inspire me. I've got to really get behind it to it's got to roll. And so little things, I'm probably not going to touch on. I'm looking for, like I mentioned in the videos, I'm looking for the gaps, the stuff that people seem to miss. Like the movie thing that I can't believe I'm the only one that's ever posted anything on it. So it's like, but I could kill the space program in 2 words. No movies. Mm-hmm. That's for me one of the easiest things to do. But we'll see how the clues go. I'm hoping to do more. I just need a few more angles, and it took me about a week to crack the plane thing. So who knows what I'll do next.
Are you teaming up at all with some of the other leading people that are discussing all this, or you don't need collaboration?
They're trying to team up with me, apparently.
Yeah, I'm sure. Maybe you don't need that.
Well, that's fine. If they want, they're trying to put together a documentary.
I think you just did.
Well, yeah, I know, but I mean a full blown. It's sort of I don't want to give it away, but they're going to try to do a subtle thing where you're talking to more than just me, other people, that have been kind of toying with this, and how it's kind of getting out there, and how the technology has gotten to a point where there's flaws that are showing up. Mm-hmm. There's things that you can't hide. The most obvious being the flights. The fact that the map doesn't seem right because there's enough electronic stuff that you're getting conflicting information. Mm-hmm. And that for me is the most damning of all. It's like, look, again, it's a great stopgap what they did, killing off the GPS for the southern hemisphere. Mm-hmm. But you can't hold that forever. You can't. It's not feasible.
Well, the only thing that's really different is that I think, and that's it's a great hope but a great worry at the same time, is that now we have a way of collaborating almost instantly. This would take probably quite a long time if you tried to release this traditionally. Just passing out DVDs. No studio would touch this with a 10-foot barge pole.
No.
Yeah,
no.
So now we have some synergy. I'm talking about it. There'll be a lot of other people talking about it. We can try and collaborate.
Sure.
I mean, we're not going to go charter ships and go different directions in the South Pacific.
That's exactly. The NASA channel actually wants to charter ships, so that's a whole other thing. But yeah, if you want to, because those ships are never going to go anywhere.
Yeah.
You're not getting anywhere.
They'll go
near
where they want them to go.
Exactly. They will steer you. Yeah, you're not.
They'll steer you nowhere. Exactly, over a cliff.
But if you ever want to, if you ever want me to be in on anything, if you want to do a project, I've only been doing this. I've been in the conspiracy thing for years, but the flat Earth thing probably less than 9 months, and then I had my Jerry Maguire moment 3 weeks ago where he said, "Okay, I'm telling everybody."
Yeah, I'll talk about this to the cows come home, because this is one of the harder puzzles to solve, and I think we need all the greatest minds, and I think some of the greatest minds helped expose the 9/11.
There you go.
JFK and
it's worth it. Which to me, it's like, look, coming from me, who absolutely thought this thing was a dead joke or a religious, extreme arm of religion, all the religions. There was no way this thing was going to be real. And I'm telling you, man, by the time I got to the end of it, it was like there was no doubt in my mind. It was like not only is it real, but it's very close to being discovered on a mass basis.
Well, yeah, I think the ball though was on the 1 yard line, and you just moved it halfway across the field, right? With this series, honestly, the ball was in danger of being kicked back into the end zone. If you want to use a football analogy, you just moved it way down the field. Now they're going to have to just push back really hard.
Which in itself is ridiculous because the government, even addressing this from a professional standpoint, isn't it the most ludicrous thing you ever heard of? It's like you would spend money to try to squash the flat Earth thing. Why would you do that? Because it's a joke. It's not serious. Well, it is. So now you got to address it. But even then, even just addressing it, unless you're going to lock me up somewhere, is going to raise eyebrows, because it's one of those topics that is so, it's because it's not the United States, it's global, it's not like you're questioning national security or anything like that. This is way bigger. This is for me, it's the last conspiracy.
There's a bunch of things that I'm not sure I can agree with. I'm not sure in the video that necessarily have to go with the flat Earth. For instance, I was getting concerned when we started talking about the dome, and I also was curious because a couple the images you put on in the video had the flat Earth on some kind of pedestal, so I was worried, well, what's underneath the pancake?
Most of those were old religious interpretations.
Oh, okay.
And as far as creating the dome, I didn't want to. You can't have it spread out forever when you're trying to explain it to people, because people they want some sort of compartmentalization. It's like, okay, they want the beginning and the end of the movie. They want some sort of space in between that they can get their head around.
Yeah.
So for me, it's like, okay, we'll start with the dome, and if it's bigger than that or if it's weirder than that, we can go from there. But
does there have to be a dome, though? I don't even know if there has to be a dome.
There doesn't have to be a dome, but it makes it easier if it is.
What's it made of? And how much do the window cleaners get to clean it? I want that contract.
Nice. And who's the maintenance crews? And, are they flying around in
Where's the rope?
Spaceship. There's the rope. Nice. By the way, the documentary guys, I was throwing out suggestions because they're thinking of doing stuff, and one that has kind of been buzzing around was the title of the documentary was to be Flat Club, and that is the first rule of Flat Club is that you do not talk about Flat Club.
Yeah.
And that really was kind of rang true because this is one of those topics where is you try to tell people how do you broach the subject.
I think flat Earth is equivalent to conspiracy theory, and that's why I created the word. Well, I adopted the word fakeology because it doesn't have any negative connotations quite yet. Yeah. I'm sure it will. I'm sure they'll tar and feather it, but I created Fakeologist because you have to think about what it means. You might actually question what it's all about. And if I just tell you it's a study of media fakery and hoaxes, then you're not going to have a given thought for it because, as we know, all our thoughts are pretty much given to us or controlled. We don't really have any original thoughts. Most people don't. So flat Earth, I think that phrase has been tarred and feathered, and it's just about as big a pejorative or put down as you can get. You almost have to try and figure out a different set of words to describe what you're trying to. Yeah,
exactly. Flat on its own seems to do okay as long as you don't combine flat and Earth because it's because you're absolutely right. It's no different than the globe. It goes hand in hand, and that is oh, well, obviously I was raised on a globe, therefore flat Earth people must be absolutely insane.
Yeah.
And they actually go out and buy tin for tin hats, but people don't understand that even in conspiracy, that of course again, for me is one of the dead giveaways, and that is even in the conspiracy world, flat Earth is considered crazy.
Yeah, that's right.
And it's like, wait a minute, which is why I kind of briefly touched on it. I said, look, there's people, I know people that will say, look, every one of the major world leaders are lizards. And I will say, hey, let me tell you about the flat Earth, and they'll just laugh and they'll laugh. It's like, really, seriously, you're in a costume right now. You're dressed up as a Roswell alien, and you're laughing at me.
Well, they are actors. That much I think most people can sort of agree with. They're actors. They're given their words.
Oh, sure,
that kind of
But
thing.
you know what I'm saying.
Yeah, they're not shape-shifting Jew lizards, or
there you go. The flat Earth has gotten such. I mean, it was again one of the reasons I jumped in is they've been kicked around for so long, and when I looked at it, I think it was more of an injustice thing than anything else. It's like, you know what? They have no reason to be kicked around.
Yeah.
If anything, they've got more credibility now than a lot of stuff, and some of the other stuff dovetails into it. So.
And if someone can disprove you, I think you'll be open to it, right? Okay.
Oh, absolutely.
Come disprove me. Yeah. Tell me I'm wrong. Show me.
But that's my phone number, email address. It's all here. I'm still waiting. I've gotten tons of emails and tons of phone calls in the last 3 weeks. And
that's why I thought it was interesting, because Simon Shack at Cruise Forum, September Cruise, has done the same thing. He's got all his personal details out there. He says, hey, call me anytime, but just don't call me crazy. Yeah. If you got something to say, just say it, and we'll get through it, and I'll tell you why. This is why I think. And I don't think anyone's been able to challenge him off his position. That's why I promote his video and his way of thinking, because it's the best out there. That's how I feel about your thing at the moment. I just saw the thing, but it hit me like a ton of bricks. I avoided watching it for 2 days. Someone dropped it in my chat.
And your response was like a lot of people. I've gotten so many emails that started with the words "mind blown."
Yeah.
And it's like, and I say, hey, super cool. It's not exactly what I was going for. I was really just trying to let people know. But again, the concept is mind blowing and on its own.
Yeah, it really supersedes just about all the stupid little plane crash hoaxes that we're going through on a daily basis, planes, trains, and automobile hoaxes, or just all the little nonsense. The little nonsense is more like noise. This is what you've got is the big enchilada, and it's because it's the big one. It's going to be the hardest one to get through. But gee whiz, if we're not spinning through, like you said, on this fireball through this infinite
space. Yeah, if you can, for those out there, if you can get your head around this just for 60 seconds, it'll be totally worth it.
Well, anyone that listens to me knows they're lied to. We're being lied to, and we're all pretty much fooled on a daily basis. And and I've already gotten over that. I say, okay, you won, you guys won, you fooled me. I get it. Okay, now I'm in awe for a few minutes. What else are you lying about? And I'm pretty happy with the fact that you're lying about nukes. And that actually is a really great relief to me. That was the biggest relief of all, because I know you can't divide or smash up this earth with the press of a button or an elbow on a. I'm okay. I'm pretty happy with that now. Actually, it's great news. And now I know why the military controls everything nuclear and a lot of electricity too, for that matter. But this one you got, so I have no problem saying, hey, we're not on this spinning fireball, but I have no idea what we're on at this point. And your theory placed a real good argument for the flat. I still want to know what's underneath this table we're standing on. What's on the other side? Is it all mechanical, or are there little wheels spinning with elves making the grass come through the earth? Are they pushing the grass up?
I'm working on it, man. If I can find a connection somewhere, I'll let you guys know. But right now, it's for me, it's really interesting because again, it's a bold move for them or the authority or however you want to call it to get a point 60 years ago where they said, you know what, we got to hide the world. What sort of meeting was that like? It's like, how do we do it? How do we hide the whole thing? And,
does Bird know? Do you think he knows what's going on, or he had a good idea, or
Bird?
Mr. Bird, Explorer Bird?
Oh, Richard E. Bird. Yeah, he knew in the end. Of course he did. But in fact, he died in 1957, a year after the Operation Deep Freeze, the last.
Because you put Neil Armstrong in your movie, and I was hoping you'd play the clip, his last White House clip.
I didn't want to go down there too far. Everyone knows that one. It's but
all he knew is he didn't go anywhere. That's all he knew, though.
Yeah, and I felt bad for Neil.
Oh, it's awful.
He's, because again, these guys, not to go off on a little tangent, but those guys were going to be heroes. That's what they signed up for. This is it. We're going to be the guys, and then all this, it's released to them. It's like, look, you're not going anywhere.
Oh, what a letdown!
Not only that, but you got to keep your mouth shut. And some of them were good with it, some of them weren't. And poor Neil, he just was a wreck. You could just tell he was a mess. He was carrying it with him his whole life, and it was awful. But Bird knew, and he died in 1957, a year later. So if you're an optimist, then he died of closure, in my opinion, because if you're the ultimate explorer and you reach the end of the world, the thing that's not supposed to be there, at his point, it's like, well, that's it. I'm done. that's all I got. But if you're a pessimist, well, you know where that goes, and that is, he'd already done a television interview and he likes talking on camera. Mm-hmm. So, do you shut him up that way, or did he just die? I don't know. But either way, it worked out because, he only had to know for a year, and then that was it. He was, and he was in his 60s. So, it was very possible. Mm-hmm, but yeah, I have no doubt that not only did Bird know, I think he was the first to know for sure.
Yeah, he confirmed it. So he was the one that ran up against the wall.
Yeah, he was the guy that got there. Whatever the border was, whatever was there against the thing that's not supposed to be there. He was the first to see it. He probably got there by plane, and who knows? Maybe even because he was a hell of a pilot. He probably landed next to it, got out, and said, "I came." It would be such a great movie shot because it's so epic, it's so huge, and it's there, and again, at that point, it's so big that you don't know the extent of it, but there were some people that obviously knew. It's okay, let's find out. Here's the outer edge, let's find the upper edge. You start firing rockets up, and you keep firing rockets for 4 years, nukes, whatever you want to call them. There were some explosives, whatever. If it wasn't fission, that's fine. But
I'm just going with good old TNT. I'm just
there. You go. I mean,
there's
either
no
way. But
yeah.
the point was they had to define what they considered to be the borders, and then once they did, coincidentally, that's when Stanley Kubrick, started up his 2001 and 63. That's when he started that project. Took 5 years. Mm-hmm. Which, if you believe the rumors, and I do, that it was a complete, research project was, to find out what you could do, what you could fake on film.
Sure. Well, television was probably a military tool created Orwell had, he never predicted it. He was told what to write. I think he was just a change agent, predictive programming, and the telescreen
wasn't he dead on? Orwell was so dead on, even now. In fact, I just watched that a couple months ago. Yeah. Again, I was like, wow.
But he was. I think. Yeah. Go ahead.
No, but I understand what you're saying. That even that was probably an op. But
he was given the information to release as this science fiction. I think it's always put out to measure the acceptability, the gullibility. Sure. And okay, everyone's okay with that. Well, guess what? It took a little while. We're all walking around with telescreens now. We all have our info devices, tracking devices, and our RFID chips are okay. They're not under our skin. They're in our hand right now. And everything has gone digital, and everything's tracked, money, everything, and they can turn you off. I mean, they can't turn you off, but hey, if you don't have money, a digital currency or a digital ID, which they could technically turn off, you're off. Mm-hmm. Go try and buy something with a phone that doesn't work. When there is no cash money, you'll have to give pieces of your body or barter services and whatnot, like the old days. But
good point. I mean, what better focus group than a focus group that doesn't know it's one?
Yeah.
That's the best part. So they're not in a room and saying, okay, we're going to show you some perfumes or these, these new advertising slogans. You just put it out in the real world. And now, it's, not to go again on a rant, but now with social media, the focus groups are instantaneous.
Yeah.
You can find out stuff, by the minute. It's just
we know what you like. We know what you're thinking because you told us what you're thinking. We don't have to go into your brain. You just wrote it.
I know that parody, I hate to use it but I'm gonna.
Yeah.
Where the show The Onion did that thing, how the CIA had saved so much money because Facebook was invented.
By them.
And they were going, these congressional hearings where the CIA couldn't thank Facebook enough for all this stuff.
The only thing they forgot to say is they probably created Slave Book, I like to call it, or Facebook.
So there you go, yeah.
And that's a pretty easy tool. And Mark Zuckerberg just got the lucky acting job to become the so-called face or creator, just like Bill Gates and Steve Jobs. There's nothing further from the truth in my mind. These people were put there, and it's not even a dirty secret that the military controls the economy. Everyone probably knows someone if they don't directly work for the military. So all the money goes there. So who the hell do you think is behind all these big businesses and big ideas and media? I mean, stop it. It's not hard. You don't have to even think hard about this stuff, right?
Agreed.
And I guess every now and then a big mouth like me and perhaps you get our word out, and I don't know if it has to be by design, and a lot of people go over the top thinking, hey, nobody can speak unless they're allowed to speak. But on the other hand, the people that do squeak through, I think, can easily be managed and controlled in the sense that their message can be obscured or mollified in some way. So I suppose you're probably going to get some shows, and I think you're wise to turn off your comments because it just saves you endless hours moderating, which is
what I'm waiting
smart.
for, and I'll know when I see it, are response videos.
Yeah.
Now, in truth, since I haven't called anybody out on anything, mine's very, very neutral.
Yeah.
I shouldn't get any, but it's going to happen. They're going to try to bait me, and I won't. I'm not taking it. So if somebody,
that's true.
says, this is a response to Mark Sargent's Clues videos and goes into some sort of tirade.
Yeah, you know what? That's probably where I make a mistake with my website because people can talk and chat, and I get shilled to death, and it keeps me a little distracted. But I suppose I should be like a lot of other pretty great researchers, and they just put their stuff out, no comments.
Yeah.
So you want to comment, create your own blog, and try and get some traffic to it. So it might be a wise move on your behalf.
Or take my videos and mirror them and then torch them. That'd be the easiest way to do it. Just because I don't stop people. It's like, fine, repost my videos.
Yeah.
It makes no difference to me. You want to yell and tear each other up on a different channel? Fine.
Yeah. As long as you guys.
You're not going to do it on mine. In fact, it's funny because I turned off the comments, but I left my discussion page open.
Right.
And my discussion page wasn't even open 3 days, I think.
And it got tore up.
Some guy comes on there and he goes, and literally it was just one line. He goes, only cowards don't allow, comments to be activated.
Oh,
right?
well, I know a certain person that says that on all of them. Yeah, there's certain people
it's like,
paid or not. Yeah.
All I did was I turned off the discussion page entirely. So even that's not visible. So it's like,
or some people will say, well, you'll get more traffic if you have comments. Well, is that really the purpose, to get traffic, or you just want to literally create a message that's pretty damn irrefutable?
Yeah. I don't care. Traffic, hey, fine, great. If it happens, it happens.
Yeah.
I'm not going to monetize it. I'm not going to do. I'm handicapping myself deliberately to prove a point. It's like, look, you guys can try to call me whatever you want, but one, nobody's going to see it. Mm-hmm. Two, you're not going to be able to discuss it on anything. So if you're going to discuss it, you're going to have to go to your own forums. And then, so I'm basically insulating myself to that degree. And so far it's worked because, I was expecting that you'd get a frustrated guy that would, email and, just say, oh, you suck and all these fun things. But nope, not yet. Of course, I'm baiting them. I'll bait them on the radio show too. I'll see if anybody.
So when's your next appearance on what show? Do you know?
That's Monday at 7 Pacific.
And what's the station?
I think
it
is. Hang on, I'm pulling it up right now. It is alltalkradio.net.
Okay.
and it's Monday night. It is, 6 o'clock Pacific on Monday night. The show's called Our Natural Rights, and they seem pretty open-minded. And I don't think I'm debating with anybody. I don't think it's a roundtable or anything like that. I think it's just me giving a Reader's Digest version, similar to what you and I have been talking about. And the host, Michelle Johnson, if she has questions, I'll just field them. But we're gonna kind of do a rundown tomorrow and see what she wants me to do. But so far, again, everybody's been super positive, and no real naysayers. Even on the weird side, even on like Godlike Productions, they haven't been torching me.
Yeah, that's a waste of time looking there. Gee whiz, what a mess. Yeah.
I know. It's a soup sandwich sometimes.
Yeah.
And then, but the weird thing is, of course, the actual FlatEarthSociety.org.
What have they said? And is that a controlled opposition site?
That's where I don't know. I'm a member. It took quite a few months to get my membership thing,
right.
But they haven't really contacted me to join into the forums or do anything like that. I've got some guys that are mirroring some stuff, but then it was really weird. Like the first time they mirrored my videos, it was put into the complete nonsense bin.
Oh,
I was going, wait a minute. This is the Flat Earth Society. I'm like your biggest champion right now, and you're throwing me in the trash right away. I haven't even posted a single thing in the forums. So so people keep coming back and trying to mirror stuff. So yeah, is it controlled opposition? I don't know.
Well, it kind of makes sense, but that's why you really. I was going to post your video just on my server, not on YouTube, and just see if I can get some real numbers.
Hey,
because I don't trust you. I don't trust YouTube's numbers necessarily either.
Yeah, I've heard that too. Because of course that's one of the first things you jump after if you're going to control something is you control every aspect.
Yeah.
Especially on YouTube.
Yeah, they'll say no, nobody's looking at this, and they think, why am I looking at this? No one's looking at it. Yeah, it's all psychological. There's no doubt. This is the psychological warfare department we're dealing with. You're not dealing with a bunch of guys with AK-47 slung over their back. These are the best and the brightest, and I'm convinced that the media hoaxes that are brought to us are brought to you by budding screenwriters. If they pull off a good fake event in some way, they're given a movie. Hey, they'll say, hey, make the movie of that, and we'll make you a big star. Just like the stars are not really rich people. They're all on salary.
Yeah, I agree. There's so many little things. For me, though, and this is just a message to whoever's listening out there, as far as the authority, you just don't fake stuff anymore, because the hive mind. I mean, if you're gonna do it, you might as well do it for real. And that sounds horrible and grim.
That does sound bad.
But it does. But at the same time, the hive mind of the internet is so good at finding stuff now. It's no, the exaggeration isn't, but when I say moviemistakes.com, everybody knows what I'm talking about. And that is, there are people out there that will go through a Blu-ray frame by frame to, and if a coffee cup moves, in a scene without the actor moving it, you're going to hear about it.
Yeah,
You can't fake anything anymore. I mean, you've seen it. I mean, it doesn't even take 72 hours, before, if somebody does something before immediately, it's just shredded. They're just shredded.
And half of those debunkers could be the original authors as well, to control the debunking.
They could be. You're absolutely right. But for me, it's like, so. It comes down to, look, production value is key. Mm-hmm. And it's like, look, get it right. I mean, I hate sloppy stuff where, the obvious stuff is missed. And, unless there's an alternative, unless there's a reason why you left it that way, I just wouldn't do it. So yeah, every time I see, something, especially a regional thing or, something, one of your smaller things that's on the news, that's obviously staged.
It's not for you, though. It's for the masses. You're in the very slight percent. See, now you've been turned. You've been flipped. You now see it. You can't stop seeing it. You can't unsee things.
Yeah.
And I still think if you went out in the street and talked to 10 people,
you would. Of course.
Yeah, they'd eat it up.
Yeah.
Say, oh yeah.
Yeah, you're right. You got a good point there. It's just for me, it's like watching bad television. I'm just watching. It's going, oh, really? But then I look behind the scenes because you mentioned, some of the best writers. I'm just going, come on, some of these guys got, they're lazy. Then, they're just slapping some stuff together every once in a while, maybe there's a timeline issue.
Yeah.
But there's little things that are just missed. But to the point again, it's like it's just so hard. I don't even know. If I could do an op. It is maybe hypothetical. I just don't know if I could. I don't even know if I'd have the confidence to do it with any amount of budget, because there's just too many people out there that because it only takes one guy to spot one little thing that everybody else missed, and then the whole thing starts to unravel.
Yeah, but if you think that they're if they're done compartmentalized, where one guy gets one thing, then someone has to tie it together, and then someone has to check for continuity.
Good point.
Yeah,
you're right.
I don't think you'd get to do the whole op yourself. So if it really is the military, then they split up tasks, and it's probably hard to stitch it all together if different guys do different sections.
You're right.
Just like any project and any business, it's not perfect. But if one guy got to be the control freak and do everything, but then it might take too long. And they say, I need this for next. We got an opening in November this year. We don't have any psyops for 3 weeks. Could you get one in there? And then you got to get your budget. You got to get your people. Oh, this guy's busy. He's working on a movie. I mean, you can just think of the planning.
You're absolutely right. You made me think of stuff I didn't take into account.
Yeah, if you did it yourself, good luck. But how long did it take you to do these videos? It's a lot of work, right? People don't realize how much time it takes.
It is, and that's just a tiny little segment compared. Hey, hate to cut you off there, but I do want to give you one more story before I go, because unfortunately I got to run.
Yeah, me too.
And that was, did you ever know the backstory of Capricorn 1, the movie?
I did watch it, and we have talked a lot about it, but tell me something about it, because I consider that controlled. That's a controlled release. And someone, Miles Mathis. Sorry to interrupt, because I want to get this out before I forget.
No, go ahead.
Miles Mathis, who is some entity on the internet, who knows who he is? I never got a hold of him. Okay. But he's a great thinker. He's the one that gave me the idea that the CIA creates majority opinion, and that's their sole mission. And anyway, he did a breakdown on Capricorn 1 and explained why and how it was done. Because you would ask, why would NASA willingly basically explain how the moon hoax was created?
Sure.
And he explains in his passage, in his essay on it, why. But sorry, go ahead.
Oh, no, it's cool. There was and this may actually work into what you were just going to say. There was a neat little side story, and it's a wiki thing. It's not one of those hearsay things. Or although wiki is sometimes hearsay. Where initially because it was an independent film. It wasn't a studio film, and it was the highest grossing independent film of that year.
With OJ.
What I thought was interesting was the guy that threw in the most money, at least publicly, was a CBS television producer who had worked in the because the movie was in '79 and the last moon broadcaster was in '72, so he was part of the television team that was helping rebroadcast that second generation crap that was the feeds from NASA, and apparently he was upset enough with the production value. Kind of what I was saying, the production value. He was watching the screen, he's going, "Oh, this is just awful, terribly good." And how that snowballs. Like, I could make something better than that. In fact, I could make a Mars movie better than that. And that's how where the initial inspiration. Now, did that inspiration initially come from somewhere else, like the CIA? Oh, very possibly.
You're talking about Capricorn 1, right?
Yeah. But I liked that angle where, again, they were looking at it from just the broadcast that they were retransmitting, that they thought it was such poor quality, which it was. It was awful. It was grainy and terrible.
Well, listen to this. See if you agree with this, because I can't say this. I wrote this down on my blog. Before we move on, let me answer my own question. Why did NASA cooperate with Capricorn 1? And they allegedly cooperated, right?
Well, you'd have to.
So it says The answer is damage control. The movie was conceived of and promoted by the government itself. They weren't confirming the moon landing was a hoax, of course. No, they were taking an idea which they knew was already in the head of the nation and trying to turn it subtly away from its target. They were planting this idea in the heads of those watching the film. Yes, the government might be corrupt enough to plan something like this, but they could never get away with it because too many good and honest people, like Elliot Gould, would expose it. It involves too many uncontrollable factors and unpredictable outcomes for any agency to get away with it. At the end of Capricorn 1, the hoax is exposed. That is the crucial element of the film, not the hoax itself. Just as with Watergate, these things eventually come out of the dark. Or is this what the audience of Capricorn 1 was meant to conclude? And most of them did conclude just that. They thought that they had gotten to the bottom of Watergate with Nixon's demise, and they were assured by Capricorn 1 that if something fishy had gone on with the moon landing, that it would also come out eventually. The fact that nothing did ever come out of the moon landing, either before or after 1978, seemed to confirm to most people that the moon landing was real. So that is the essence of Capricorn 1. And it seems such a dangerous thing for NASA to cooperate, make a movie like this, put the idea in people's mind. But the way they ended it was crucial. And
because it diffused it.
Yeah, they just said it would. Okay, in the movie it came out because it was such a dumb idea. But in real life, it didn't come out. We went to the moon because it would have come out, just like in the movie. And the way they confuse movies and reality is so beautiful all the time. That is what allows them to control the message all the time. That's what's so brilliant. I mean, this is heavy stuff. This is heavy psychological warfare. You got to really think this stuff through. I have to read that all the time to remind myself because I can never explain why they did Capricorn 1. I got to reread that because it makes so much sense, but it's complex.
Yeah. Dig it. I totally dig it.
But anyway, thank you so much. This has been great.
Oh, no.
This is very impromptu.
No worries at all.
I'm glad I got you right. I just said, he left his phone number 9 times. So I think I'll just give him a buzz, see if he answers the phone, see if, the military under the Denver airport doesn't answer the phone.
So if someone answers, like, how may I transfer you?
Yeah, exactly. Can I transfer your call? What department do you want? The general's out today. But
exactly.
Yeah, this has been really cool.
I should have answered NSA. This is Mark.
or DARPA or whatever the hell.
DARPA, nice.
But you've got the great video series now. It's a series, Flat Earth Clues, part 1 to 9, with the guide at the beginning. I've ripped the audio. I'm going to listen to the audio tomorrow, just without the imagery, and see if I can get more out of it. But everyone should definitely go to my blog, Fakeologist.com. I've got the post to just the videos up so people can look at it on YouTube, and I'll post this audio probably tomorrow sometime, and you can download it and pass it around or link to it if you want. But
cool.
This is fantastic. I'm going to absorb this. I'm going to comment with my membership on it and see if they think I'm completely out to lunch or right on target. I'll see how they react, and I'll definitely have to have you back.
Oh, thank you. Maybe, I'd love to do it.
Yeah, maybe on Skype so you come through even more clearly.
Sure. Sure, you bet. In fact, I just redid my Skype thing, got a new camera and headset. So yeah,
I don't need the camera. I won't. We'll just use audio is fine.
okay.
I got a face for radio myself, so we'll just keep it on. I'm still not in the. I'm just not into public exposure. I like talking about it, but I don't know. I shouldn't be this way, but until maybe another 1% is on board with anything I'm saying, forget this and that. I just like to just be sort of semi-anonymous. You know what I mean? I mean, you're way braver than I am. So is Simon and others. But I just haven't reached the comfort level. So good for you, man. I mean, you put it out there, and I think you're touching probably one of the toughest nuts to crack, and that's got to be whatever we're standing on, like I said. So good on you.
Thanks.
Great video.
Definitely a challenge, but thank you very much.
All right.
And yeah, next time you want to do it, you just let me know, and I'm all yours.
Yeah. All right. Well, thanks so much, Mark, and have a good night.
You too.
All right. Take care.
Bye-bye.
Okay, bye. All right, guys. Whew, that was an impromptu Fakeologist radio. I just phoned the number and someone answered. I didn't think he'd answer, but here we are, almost 2 hours into the call. If you're listening to this live, thanks for listening. Don't forget to set your clocks back or ahead forward. It's March 7th, 2015. We just talked to Mark Sargent, and he's got this pretty cool Flat Earth Clues video. It hit me pretty hard that someone actually put the story of this flat Earth or whatever we're spinning on or floating on into a pretty comprehensive, concise video. Watch all 9 + 1 parts, and let's talk about it. This is pretty cool. And what's more, have a good night. Take care, everybody.